Welcome, everybody. Welcome, all of you. It is episode 9 of the Generation X Retro Gaming Club. Yes, welcome, one and all, to another, what we hope will be a wonderful episode of the Generation X Retro Gaming Club with me, Clive Illenden, and of course, Clyde. No, of course, it's Rokk. Rokk is here. Yes, Rokk is back.
Second best to Clyde, sadly. Clyde did a good job.
Clyde, or Sue. It's good to... Yeah, no, he's definitely back. It's good to have you back, Rokk. Fun though Clyde is, I'll tell you that, but he keeps changing his mind on me. 1 minute he's yes. And then he's doing about turn, and he's no. And I just don't know where I am with him.
He drives you dotty.
Or them, exactly. But anyhow, Rokk, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Back in your rightful place, back on the show.
Very good of you. Thank you, Clive. It's a real absolute pleasure to be back here. Please, give him the clap.
Enough of that.
That's very kind of you.
So, chat, let us know how you're all doing. Let's hello there, Dave. Hello, Rokk, in the chat. Hello, Stream Elements. Always good to see you, Stream Elements. Dazadini, how you doing? Holtz, always good to see you in there, Holtz. Welcome. So, Rokk, how has your gaming week been this week?
Wow, it's been ridiculously busy, Clive, if I'm completely and honest with you. It's been a smorgasbord.
Wow.
A veritable smorgasbord of gaming. I strayed to the dark side this week, and I discovered that there is such a thing as Xbox Game Pass for the PC. Of course, as you know, I've recently bought a PC, which, I paid a little bit more and got some gaming bits. So I filled my boots for £1 for the month, and I've been playing so many great games. I've been playing Blair Witch, which is a hoot, very scary. It's great fun. I've been playing West of Dead, which I did a live stream on for the beta only a week ago, so I was chuffed to bits to see that was there. Rediscovering Warframe, which was always one of my favorites. A Plague Tale, which is a great Xbox game, and I've put my name down for Grounded, which comes out next month. And on top of that, PUBG, ESO, Destiny 2, and Wavebreak, because me, as many of us in the community, got a pre-release version of that to have a little play with. So
everybody was streaming it.
I know. I held back, mate. I held back. I'm gonna keep my gunpowder for another day. But no, it's been an absolute real buffet de many. Which is
so, like, I mean, are you actually playing these games or just dipping into them? I mean, which ones are you?
It's funny you say that, Clive, because I was only thinking to myself this morning, one of the problems I perceive there could be with these kind of Netflixy type games sort of platforms is that it does encourage you to be a bit butterflyish with games. And from a developer's point of view, that means it makes it even more difficult to create a title that you're likely to stick around with. So, you're absolutely right. Of course, I've not played more than minutes of all of these games, couple of hours maybe with Blair Witch, and I also played Outbreak this evening. And I know you thought it was okay, but not brilliant. Now I'll probably only play a couple of hours. If I'd bought the game, I would almost certainly play it to completion. And I can see that being a future problem. And the concern for me as a gamer is that we'll end up with a real kind of homogenous mess of games that are just designed to keep you going forever, like a battle royale type thing, but don't have a lot of content or sticking power. So it's a very good point.
Short gaming sessions, that sort of thing.
Little chunks of gaming, rather than if you literally went down to your local Tesco and bought a version for 50 quid, you're as down the hell going to make sure you play the game. Whereas when it's £3.50 or whatever it is a month to play whatever's coming along, I'm just downloading all over the place with my 2 terabyte drive. And there is no way I'm going to complete these games. I mean, I've still got a ton of games on Stadia that I've that I've got nowhere near completing. You know, I've probably got about 40 games floating around at the moment that, and there's no way in hell I'm going to complete them.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can sort of discover new things,
Yeah.
and explore new things. But you're right, you get in a situation where the next shiny thing comes along. We've got like there's another 4 games in July coming to Stadia, for instance, and half the I haven't even looked at ESO yet.
Yeah, I know you're waiting on that one, aren't you?
So because I know that it's going to involve time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dip into it, but it's like, well, when do I find the time? And then there's all these unfinished games, as you say. I'm still halfway through Doom Eternal and some of the Steam World games, and Lord knows. So
and there's another one of those coming in July.
It's good to have the choice, but you sometimes just have things undone, unfinished. So our Zero Game says 20 to 25% finish. Yeah, just gonna squeeze my box up. Finished games. Yeah.
Prunes does that for me.
What?
Squeezes
Clears the blockage.
Squeezes my box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been I haven't, talking of actually completing games, albeit short games. I completed Little Nightmares.
Yes, round of applause.
Which I talked about yesterday, and it's a great game. I really enjoyed it. A good platformer, not easy in terms of it doesn't give you clues, but it encourages you to try things out and then sort of think laterally, and then bit of trial and error, pressing a few things, walking up to random things and seeing if they do anything. And then you get that immense satisfaction of like, oh, big brain, I worked it all out by myself, when you find the solution. So yeah, really enjoyed Little Nightmares. Super hot game I've been wanting to play for a while. It was on the Xbox Games Pass, as I say, a while ago.
Yeah.
But I never got around to playing it then. And so when I knew it was coming to Stadia, I was quite excited. Didn't play it straight away because I like to do a first look. So, I need time to do that, set it all up and stream it.
Yeah.
Or record it at least. So it's not a case of just, quick, open it up. But anyway, and that's quite a short game, unless I'm missing something.
No, it's a very short game.
I got through that pretty quickly. Really enjoyed it. It's a great concept. It'd be interesting if they did another version. You can see it's specifically designed for VR as well.
Yes.
Its whole design concept and design decisions, the choices they've made in the design is specifically geared at VR.
Yes.
But it works. It works well.
Yeah.
I finally got around to buying Assassin's Creed, which was in the sale, plus a £10 off, 16 quid. Thank you very much. I'll take that for $1.
It's a lovely game.
$16. So that was good, and I'm enjoying that. And that's the sort of game I think I can just sort of pop into and do the odd mission and then pop out of again. So
it's an excellent game.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It does look great. It sort of reminds you every so often you do a game like that and you just think, okay, yeah, some games are really, really good. Yeah, they've got depth, good characters design, good stories.
Yeah.
Well developed, well put together technically, artistically. And
historically as well. It's very historically accurate.
Yeah, they clearly, judging from the presentation they did about Valhalla, they sort of do their research. So that's good. And then of course PUBG, which I stream at the weekends. Like a sort of, I'm like a masochist.
You did very well on Friday with
when Apex Legends comes out. It's going to be the same.
Have you always liked battle royale games, or is this a newfound?
No, I quite like them. I'm just not very good at them. So that's what I'm saying. I'm a bit of a not misogynist.
Yeah, masochist.
I mean, a masochist.
You don't want to be one of them, mate. Not these days. You not if you can. You can't be woke as well.
Quote. Yeah, I'm a woke misogynist. I'm a masochist. I keep going back, even though I know I'm not very good, and get frustrated with myself because I can't control the recoil on the bloody machine guns like a 20-year-old or something, or even a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And my reaction times are super slow. And I see my 10-year-old son play these games, and he just pick them up, and he's like 4 or 5 kills, no problem. And I'm going, what? I don't get it. How come I just got shredded? and then you watch, and then you see a person get sort of shot at, and they're still alive, and then they shoot the other person and go, if that was me, I would have been shot with, why do I get shot with 1 bullet? And that person, or why do I shoot somebody with 100 bullets and they don't drop down dead? I don't get it.
I know.
Fix.
I know.
But I keep playing them.
It is the perfect game for streaming, though, because you get so much time to talk to chat.
And then it gets tense.
And then you get that, whoa, that's the payoff that everybody loves. But it's a great game if you're wanting to engage with chat. So I absolutely get that.
Yeah, they're good. That's why they're some of the top streaming games.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Call of Duties and the Apex and the Fortnite,
Dota,
PUBGs. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Chat, let us know what you've been playing this week. Put it in the chat. It was always good to see what you've been playing, to hear what you've been playing and stuff like that. But let's get on with the show while you put that in chat and stuff. Remember to hit likes, everybody, by the way. It helps with everything. It's like a round of applause, showing your appreciation. That's what I like to say. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Tonight's show, we're going to have the latest news from the gaming world. Of course, we will. On this week in gaming history, 64K of memories, or the Generation X game, and maybe some more as well. So, and remember, let us have any questions or stuff you want to talk about, put it in the chat. Spur us on to little random meanderings down nostalgia lane. That's all helps. Shall we get on with some news then, Rokk?
Let's do it.
Right. Okay. Let me kick off then. So, first thing, the big in the news, current news, everybody's been talking about for obvious reasons, is Microsoft is closing down Mixer. Here, you see, I've picked this particular, you can pick any news site, but I particularly picked the BBC. And the reason I've done it is partly the language that they use here. Microsoft abandons gaming app in Facebook deal. So this is quite interesting, I think, in the fact that the language that they're using here, the fact that Microsoft abandons it. A lot of people say, well, not a lot. Some people have said, oh, it's some strategic move and stuff like that. It is a strategic move, but it's one brought about by sort of the fact that Mixer was effectively failing what it was meant to do.
Yes.
In the speed that it was meant to do it. So is this some amazing chess move? Only if it's a chess move in the fact that you're blocked into the corner. And unless you do something dramatic, sacrifice a pawn or whatever it is, you'll lose the game. So it's not, they haven't lost the game. It's just that they've had to do something quite dramatic in order to sort of keep things moving in the right direction for them. So, and it's happened quite quickly. And it's interesting because I've been watching a number of what are called stream experts, so people who give lots of advice about how to stream, which channels to stream on, all that kind of stuff, technical stuff. And I've been getting their kind of perspective on this, and they know some people on the inside and stuff like that, and so generally building up a picture that this happened for the it happened very suddenly. So Mixer partners basically found out by the tweet.
Same as we did.
Yeah, same time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? So this is a shutting down. This isn't a kind of, we'll strategically move you across and we'll build up. This is a shutting down. And so if you're Ninja and Shroud, of course, who, famously came across with big money signing, and in their contracts, they basically had some sort of term saying, if Mixer goes south, they'll be bought out of their contracts in full, or they'll be paid in full. Right? So they had a sort of, you know, because they had to be convinced to come to Mixer, which is a much smaller channel than Twitch, give up everything they had on Twitch. So in order to do that, they said, we'll guarantee you, in the case of Ninja, $30 million over 3 years. We'll guarantee you that. And then in the case of Shroud, $10 million guaranteed. So they don't have to worry about their earnings. That's guaranteed money. But because also a much smaller channel, obviously their lawyers said, okay, if Microsoft decide to walk away, we want to be paid in full. Yeah. And apparently they agreed to that. So Shroud and Ninja, so Ninja's basically walking, he's been there 6 months or so, maybe a bit longer. He's walking around for $30 million in the bank. Shroud, he definitely has only been there for about 6 months. $10 million, thank you, in the bank, and with the option to go back to Twitch. They know that they're popular. They work. I mean, Shroud's not been that long off Twitch, so it's quite easy transition for him to go back.
Yeah. Pick up the same audience.
Yeah. Ninja has some bad blood with Twitch, which makes me think he might go to YouTube. They've already turned down Facebook, by the way, who allegedly offered them twice as much, because obviously to give Facebook gaming credibility, you need the big streamers, and ideally you'd need them, and then hopefully all the other Mixers partners would follow. But the problem is the mid-tier partners who make just enough money, you know, are young, in their 20s or whatever, make enough money to get by. It's not easy just to go to another channel and take your followers with you.
No.
It's not as easy if you're a massive top streamer like a Ninja or a Shroud or the others like that. It's those mid-tier partners who basically are told in July, your income is stopping. It's like being made redundant by tweet. But equally, the people there are people who are genuinely being made redundant, and they're the people at Mixer. Some of the people at Mixer who also found out in that tweet. So you've got bad blood as well. So like Mixer's created bad blood with all their mid-tier partners by not telling them and saying, oh, but don't worry, you can go to Facebook. It's like a lot of people don't like Facebook. Not because of the tech or something. They just don't like, you know, Facebook and the data. And apparently for the partners that sort of higher, you get a guaranteed, like a signing on fee of $2,500 for Facebook as an incentive, but it might not be enough. So it's
not 30 million.
Well, yeah. Well, they offered him, if they offered him half, then twice as much. They'd have like 60 million to go for Ninja. But
is that what they said? They offered him twice as much.
Apparently, for Ninja and Shroud, because obviously the credibility that it would bring if they were on Facebook. They just sort of,
so what was it about Facebook? What is it about Facebook that they absolutely cannot abide, that they've turned down that significant a pot of money?
I just don't think it's the right career move for them in their minds. They'll make money on Twitch. They'll keep the powder dry. They'll make money on YouTube. Ninja's got a massive following on YouTube already. So if YouTube came in, so in a way, PewDiePie makes videos, but he doesn't always stream exclusively. But now YouTube have signed him up to stream exclusively. So if they get Ninja to stream exclusively on YouTube, that's a big thing. Plus, they can guarantee him some money, but also he'll make money because of all the value of being on YouTube brings.
See, this is the bit that I can't square, because you've made a couple of you've made some excellent points, and you raised a point that just I can't get out of my head, which is, why did they literally abandon the ship overnight? It's like the Marie Celeste
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as far as I'm aware, even if it was losing money, it wasn't costing. Yeah, it wasn't a massive sinkhole, and it's not like Microsoft, desperately need to start repairing funds. So why did they literally drop it that fast? What do they know about what's coming up over the horizon, or what were they offered by Facebook that was so compelling that it required instant move? There's something more to this story, and I can't square it.
There is, and maybe I can help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the speed of growth on Mixer wasn't enough for Xbox and Microsoft's greater plans, which we know, which is the Project X Cloud, the integration, as we're going to see with Stadia and YouTube, as we'll see with Twitch and Project Tempo when it comes out as well. That is the strategy that they're all following. Makes perfect sense. I've said it before, people watch games, people play games. If you can have a seamless transition between those two, it's sort of self-marketing as well. It's just a brilliant concept. If you can nail it and keep people within your own arena, either playing games in your arena or watching games in arena, it's all good. So obviously things weren't moving at the right pace. So you're right. Normally, I think the transition would be much more gradual. It wouldn't be as sudden. This sounds like a massive gear change, like a slamming on the brakes. So you're right. What is the reason? Is it incentive by Facebook? I'm not convinced, because what if Facebook aren't getting any tech out of this? No. Arguably, they're not getting a lot of streamers out of it. They might be getting the benefit of being integrated into Xboxes. But that has some value. But again, these are more sort of things you would evolve over time. So there is a theory that right now there are some major issues going on internally at Mixer. One about sort of sexism,
misogyny,
right?
Funny old word.
Yeah, in that. And the other one is about some race issues. So a former Mixer sort of manager came out recently on Twitter to sort of expose how he was treated, and it blew up big time. And even so much that Phil Spencer reached out to him. And so this was 2 days ago. So this is significant. And he said, so the head of Xbox, this is how big this is. The head of Xbox reached out to this guy who's a former employee of Mixer and said, I didn't realize, and set up a call with him. The call was for yesterday. Now, so it was significant. This is a significant one. A major senior manager on the Mixer board was basically being accused of basically being a racist and having a racist attitude and not being conducive to BME staff members and stuff like that. And this guy had highlighted it all, and it was enough, as I say, to get Phil Spencer to say, right, I'm sorry about this, call me tomorrow, we're going to have a call and we'll talk about it. The head of Xbox, this guy was a campaign partner manager or something like that. So he looked after partners and encouraged them and worked with them. So he's not like super senior, but what he raised and how it blew up on Twitter was enough to get Phil Spencer to say, I'm stepping in, taking control. So things were bubbling up, and there was a lot of noise on Twitter about it and calling out Mixer and all this kind of stuff. So if you're in talks with Facebook at the time, and you're Facebook, so this is a theory, if you're Facebook, you're going to go, right, we got to do this deal now before things get rotten. And so Facebook this deal may have been planned to be announced in, September or October, and a bit more sort of strategic planning and positioning in how this would work. So it doesn't come across, as the BBC says here, Microsoft abandons, Microsoft closes down, you if that is happening, that's fine, but you sort of manipulate the marketing a bit.
of
You sort of
course.
position it so
That's
that
way too
this is the
simplistic.
transition to Facebook. We're changing our strategy.
Yeah.
But I think Facebook said, if this lingers on, if this bad smell that's at Mixer right now and is kicking up lingers on, this deal is off. So we do this deal now, or we don't do the deal. And I think Facebook may have not. So it wasn't incentive from a money point of view, but incentive as we're going to walk away from this because we've got better things to worry about, more things to worry about in our own world than taking on Mixer, which has got all this bad blood going on internally about it. Ironically, Mixer is the sort of streaming channel that's meant to be a friendly place, as opposed to the slightly more toxic Twitter. But internally, what's been revealed is it was quite a toxic atmosphere amongst the staff and their working relationships behind the scenes at Mixer. So that is a theory that this deal was about to happen, and maybe, as some people said, it was a strategic chess move, and a sort of recognizing that it wasn't doing as well. So how do we transition slowly and strategically and from a marketing point of view into a good place? But all the bad shit going on right now. I mean, literally yesterday was a meeting with Phil Spencer, with this guy that was saying he'd had a really bad time as a staff member at Mixer.
Yeah,
it all blew up, and then Facebook probably went, right, we don't want this shit. So you either do the deal now, get out, close it down. Otherwise, you're going to just give us a toxic brand.
Well, more toxic, more toxic than they already are, which is which is possibly couldn't get much worse. Oh, but that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. So that to me absolutely ticks the boxes.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes a huge sense. Xbox can't afford. I mean, nobody right now wants to be stoking that stuff up in this current climate. They definitely don't want that hanging around with the launch of the Xbox Series X and xCloud and Xbox Gaming Pass, and so on and so forth. So they needed to do something fast. And as you've rightly said, Facebook said, well, this is how fast it's got to be. Otherwise, we're moving on, because we cannot be associated with this right now. We've got enough of our own stuff to deal with. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So there we are. That's the big news. Now you've got
that was
here,
very heavy.
Let's go a bit lighter. Retrobit resurrects Sega's Dreamcast.
Yes. So essentially, this is Jurassic Retro, and what we've got here.
Have you talked about them before?
No, I don't think so. No. They're not called Jurassic Retro. They're called Bit Part or something. Retro Bit. That's it. I was just, you see, it was my clever headline writing, Clive, because they brought it back from the dead. You see, do you like an old dinosaur? Yeah. What? So yes, essentially what it is that they this outfit, Retrobit, have literally resurrected the Sega Dreamcast controller, which I can't see the screen in front of me very well, but I think it might have been a Kickstarter, but I may be wrong. I'm not 100% sure. I think it will work on anything. I don't think it's specifically to go with Dreamcasts per se, but clearly they felt that it was a nice enough design that they would bring it back from the dead.
It says wired and wireless options.
Wired and wireless. So clearly it wouldn't have been wireless back in the day. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I like the idea. I mean, we're seeing a lot more of this now. I think literally ever since we started the Generation X Retro Gaming Club, Clive, which I think single-handedly we've injected some newfound adrenaline into the retro gaming marketplace. So we're seeing all these old bits of kit coming back from the dead, and emulators being sort of retrofitted into handheld devices and such. So did you have a Sega Dreamcast in the day?
I did not. No.
I think Ray 3473 did.
Right.
I think Ray had pretty much everything that went.
He had all of them.
Yeah, I think he had the whole lot. The whole Nintendo, Sega aspect of gaming all completely passed me by. I have no knowledge whatsoever of the sector. So if you fancy one of these,
Yeah, you can hook
then
it up. It says USB converter for PC play.
there you go.
That'd be kind of cool.
There you go. And what about the old GOG? Presumably you can use it in for the old GOG as well, the GOG.
I
Any
don't know. Is it?
No, I'm just trying to be clever, really. I haven't got a clue what I just said.
No, what's a GOG? GOG.
It's all to do, isn't it? Isn't this a gaming platform that CD Projekt Red have developed that allows you to play any game from any platform through this one platform? GOG. I may be wrong, and
What, really?
chat will tell us.
Do you
But
mean like a giant super gaming computer with consoles, and like I've seen people build?
Yeah,
I've
something
seen
like
people
this.
build like gaming, like a gaming PC with Xbox built in, PlayStation built in, and then you just say, "I'm going to play PC." It's all in one big box.
So GOG.com is
Oh, we
this what it
found it.
says here. Yeah, is a digital distribution platform, an online store with a curated selection of games, an optional gaming client, giving you freedom of choice and a vivid community of gamers. All of this born from a deeply rooted love for games, utmost care about customers, and a belief that you should own the things you buy. So, and this is CD Projekt Red. I came across this t'other day. GOG.com. And I mean, it's by and large mostly their games.
Terrible site. Do not buy a thing from them after
No,
number of who. What?
but they do. They are giving you The Witcher 3 for free, which is pretty good, and some other Witcher stuff as well. But yeah, it's. I think they're having a crack at Steam, and I stumbled across it the other day and made a mental note to come back and have a proper look at it. But they have got a fair amount of games on here. It's not just actually, it may have nothing to do with CD Projekt Red whatsoever. It may just be that I alighted upon their page. But there is some pedigree somewhere. Right down the bottom right hand corner of the screen, part of CD Projekt Group.
Oh yeah, part of this. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, came across this and I thought, hello, must explore this in more detail.
Yeah.
But I know that there's more to it than it being a store. I'm fairly certain that there's a client that allows you to play all of these games in a not too dissimilar way to Xbox Game Pass, I guess, on PC. So these are games that range across normally a variety of platforms, but you can actually play them through their client.
Okay, so you sort of download their client and then download and install the games.
Yeah,
play through their client that you've downloaded.
Yeah, so it could well be a giant emulator, or it could just be that these are all games that are built with the same engine, Unity or Vulkan or what have you, and therefore the client is able to put all the bits in place to allow you to play it on a PC, because everything's here. West of Dead,
and look at Apple as well, but looks things.
Yeah, indeed. So
wow, and
Ubuntu. So yeah, it's one to look at. It's just popped into my in my radar the last few days, and I thought, I must investigate this. There's obviously everything is discounted, or most of it's discounted. They've got Cyberpunk, which is actually cheaper, ironically, than if you were to buy it anywhere else at £49.90. I think that's about it's at £59 everywhere else. I think if you pre-order it, it's about £59 on PlayStation and Xbox. So that's £10 cheaper here.
Yeah.
And will no doubt be released day and date.
100% of your money goes to the CD Projekt Group. Yeah, no middleman. Exactly.
Well, yeah. So they can actually afford to knock 30% off.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, one to find out a little bit more about. I think this
Yeah,
one.
that's interesting. So this is here. If you look in chat, Zero Games says love GOG. Dave Andy says isn't GOG a store? I think it's what is this? I think it's like what Rock's saying. It's got a they play it through a client. You need a rather than just download the game. So I guess the client allows it. Yeah, then that way it allows you to play on the Mac or Ubuntu, whatever. It just sits, so you don't. It doesn't have to be a Windows PC type thing because you're relying on the client. I guess that's how it's working. Holt says I'm supposed to go back and link my other clients to GOG Galaxy 2.0 and see all the features. Dave's bought and played a few on GOG. My laptop can barely even run Frostpunk, which is a great game. No DRM, offline play, which of course is there.
Which, yeah, I mean, is it people? Steam, as you know, notoriously, if you don't have connection to the internet, you ain't playing the game, even though it's sat on your machine.
You've got you got the DRM rights checked. Dave Handley says, I bought Witcher 3 from GOG. Oh, there we go.
It's actually, all joking aside, it's an interesting time to be a gamer, don't you think, Clive?
Oh,
I mean, you're seeing disruptive technologies and disruptive solutions like this and Stadia and so on that really are just it's no great surprise that Microsoft and others are having to make 24-hour decisions because this is moving so rapidly now.
Yeah. I mean, I think but it there's a time when, if you'd wanted to watch a film, your choices were limited. Was the film out? What were you going to do? Go to buy the VHS from WH Smith or your local Blockbuster or wherever it was? Or do you rent the film from Blockbuster, wherever it was? And they're not always there. And the ones you wanted weren't always there. Whereas now, imagine the fact that you can watch all the Star Wars films, like for a $5.
Yeah.
And all the Marvel films.
Yeah.
And then new content coming up all the time. So it's just choice. The choice. Some people say too much choice, but there's just so much choice, and you're seeing the same in games. And the more that happens, as we've sort of seen as well, means that people want to play with their friends. So the developers and publishers have got to make these games cross-play, because they realize, games are about much more social now, in terms of, they're all sort of multiplayer online games. You're always surprised if you have a non-multiplayer online game like Jedi Fallen it was a big thing that it was a story-based game and not a multiplayer game. And then because of all the choices of where you can play, it forces the developers and publishers to go, oh, we better make it cross-play, because this, so many different people can get the game from so many different platforms, which also makes exclusives all that more special. So
it does indeed, but it is absolutely fascinating times. Now, do you want me to move on to the next? We went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it's quite an interesting one, I thought.
Go on.
So the next one is Mario modding. So so basically a bunch, we've talked in the past about how there are these kind of passionate backroom developers that rebuild these games. Do you remember we looked at a Tomb Raider?
I remember that.
And another one, I forget what it was now. But I came across this bunch that have basically created a port of Mario 64, which actually looks really good. But Nintendo weren't very happy and they pulled out all the legal stops. Fair point. As you know, as you've said in the past, they're quite heavy when it comes to protecting their IP. But that hasn't stopped them. And in fact, there's a massive underground movement now in modding this Mario 64 port. And it's apparently at a very mature and advanced stage. Never played it, but we've been down the old rabbit hole of where Mario came from in the past.
We have indeed.
This looks quite good.
I'll come to this because Mario 64 in itself is an amazing game. But yeah, it says they can implement ray tracing in Mario 64 by a third-party ray checker.
How brilliant is that?
I actually, if it's graphically, which it does look like it's super graphically improved,
Yeah,
obviously compared to the N64 version,
of course.
I wouldn't mind playing that actually.
Well, and this is the point. I mean, surely the market is telling Nintendo something here. If you're prepared to, bring a game, any game, a historical game, a game that has a place in people's hearts, if you're prepared to update it with all the next gen qualities, ray tracing, and huge detail and so on, then absolutely people will pay the same amount of money to play that game again. Why wouldn't they? It's no different to when, I mean, how many times have we seen the Star Wars? You mentioned it just now, but Star Wars collection released on video, on VHS, and then on Blu-ray, and then and then with 3D, and then in 3D, and people will keep paying to relive the same emotional thing. Yeah, well, it's high quality content which has a place in people's hearts.
Yeah.
So if so rather than constantly having to reinvent titles and franchises, and I think we've seen this to a degree recently, a lot on Stadia, where most of the content, to be fair, has been released in previous years, but it's come to the platform improved, either with a new sheen to it or some new features or functionality and so on. And it just makes it's still very playable. And I don't know about you, Clive, but I'll play a game a year ago, and trust me, a year later, I've probably forgotten most of it anyway. I'm quite happy to play it
back because I can't remember how I did. Yeah, that's interesting. I might check that out.
Has it got a link to be able to download it, or is it sort of secret?
Stream on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Chinese Whispers.
Chinese Whispers. So obviously it's in the title, but again, interestingly, I mentioned earlier about how we're seeing this huge explosion in revisiting not just the games, but the kit that those games existed on. And apparently there's a massive market coming out of China, isn't there always for everything, in building emulators into handhelds. Now, we saw recently, it was the 25th anniversary of Sega, and they put out those little mini
60 years, I think it was.
60, was it? Sorry, you're absolutely right. I'm thinking of My Game to Come. 60 years, that's right. And they did those little teeny weeny fit in the palm of your hand with basically an emulator inside it. And apparently it turns out that's a huge market anyway, coming out of China. So this thing, which is $65, so say £60, it's a fairly sizable piece of kit. I mean, to be fair,
Dreamcast N64 emulator,
and it's got a ton of games on it. The screen alone, I mean, that's got to have some value, because this is you can see by the size of the D-pad that we're talking about something that's not that's maybe the size of a mobile phone. So it's a fair bit of heft in that for 60 quid. And this site that I found regularly reviews them, and it's basically saying that this is a huge new movement in popping out these retro emulators.
So there's a long history of counterfeit, what we would call counterfeit.
Yes,
I'm sure the Chinese consider it counterfeit, but we consider it counterfeit. The Chinese have a long history of not really sort of having a dim view of copyright and ownership and property. And so there are markets, there always have been. And if you go to Taiwan, I know that's not China, but they have similar markets and stuff like that, where it's all counterfeit games, all counterfeit goods, everything. Just open massive marketplaces, almost like shopping malls of it. And China especially, so they've had a long history of emulating, because obviously they didn't import the early games machines and stuff like that. They made their own ones and dubbed them educational, but they happened to run the Famicom, so the Japanese machine, arcade machine was the the home arcade machine was the Famicom, and in China they built their own one, but they didn't want to call it like a games machine. They wanted to sort of put across the educational aspect of it, so they called it something else. They made their own machine, but oddly enough, it happened to just run all the Famicom games. We're completely like against the sort of licensing rules of the Famicom and those games and stuff. But there's a long history of the Chinese making stuff that will play. You'd think are locked, you know, but it will play the cartridges, the N64 cartridges or whatever they were, on dodgy machines, and they've taken this option with aplomb.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look good. I hear what you're saying. Of course, as you know, we can get these games emulated on the internet anyway. All they've essentially done is pop them into hardware.
Yeah, and the tech's easy enough to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. But yeah, no, it is unfortunately, as you've said, it's a cultural thing with the Chinese. And I assume legally as well, they possibly don't have the same kinds of property-related laws that we have in the rest of the world.
No, they take a much more looser view. It's very hard to get the prosecutions in China as well, because you need to go to the country where the infringement is happening, and it's not really geared up to be supportive to people defending infringement of their own non-Chinese intellectual property right. When I worked at Lego, we had the same issue. It's a constant battle.
Sure. Having said that, try suing an American in America and see how you get on.
Yeah, no. Well, they just hit you with a counter suit.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes, there you go.
So the other big news here, which I'm not going to talk about, but I put here because I want you to talk about it, is The Last of Us Part 2 smashes sales records. And it's one of those games that really demonstrates the power of a really, really good console exclusive. It's one of the games that will make people, it's the tail wagging the dog literally here, it will make people buy the console. I've heard people anecdotally say, that's it, I'm ordering a PlayStation Pro just to play this game. Now, I've done that before. I did that with Zelda on the GameCube, Wind Waker. I bought it just to play, well, I played other stuff on it, but initially I bought it just to play Wind Waker on this sort of, and it came with a Platinum Edition version of the GameCube and everything. But The Last of Us, it looks like it's absolutely done shed loads of sales here.
It's been big, isn't it?
Bigger than Uncharted in 2016.
Yeah, and I bought it, The Last of Us 2.
So yeah, have you played it?
I've put a couple of hours in. I have to say, it's not drawn me as much as I'd hoped.
Okay. Is that a hype thing?
I'm always very wary of hype. I mean, the only reason I didn't succumb to or feel that this would be that is because Naughty Dog has always delivered. I mean, they've always delivered no matter what they've done. And The Last of Us 1 was an absolutely superb game, or at least it was, it broke all sorts of molds. And I think this one does as well. And don't get me wrong, it is a beautiful game, and it is in the same vein. I think for me, there have been so many games since The Last of Us 1, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like Days Gone, which probably wouldn't have existed, in fairness, if The Last of Us hadn't broken that ground. But they've done such a great job of it that I wanted to hold this up against them as much as I did The Last of Us 1. So I'm about couple of hours, 3 hours in, I guess, and I would argue the main game hasn't kicked in yet. So I haven't yet got to the point in the story where there's the reason for the story, other than there's just laying some ground at the moment around the beginning of the arc, if you like. And also as well, Clive, full disclosure and full transparency, what going back to what we kicked off the show with this evening, I've also been bitten by the butterfly bug. You know, I've got loads of
Yeah.
shiny things, and it does. This is exactly the point that I was making. What it does is it stops you from getting engaged in the games like this, which absolutely demand engagement and will reward it. The last game I can hand on heart say of any scale that I played totally and with total engagement and through to completion was Death Stranding,
Right.
over December January time.
Yeah.
Prior to, you know, kind of just before Stadia really kicked off big time with all the new games and so on. So I do want to go back to it. I'm also, I guess, another issue that I currently have is that because it's on my PlayStation, it's not in my little den here where I am
Oh,
right now. If it was on my PC or Stadia, I almost certainly would have invested more time in it. But it's in the family room,
right.
and the family are
Are in the
wanting to
room.
do their stuff, right? So, you know, this is another classic example of where your fixed box console will lose
How very
ultimately.
old-fashioned.
Very old-fashioned. So, you know, I mean, it is a great game. I'm looking forward to spending more time with it, but it's going to be one of those games where I've got to wait till the family go out. And, you know, I've kind of exorcised out of my system all these other shiny things that are pulling me forward. But I can see, and what I think the great thing for PlayStation or for Sony is what a fillip leading up to the sale of the next gen consoles,
Yeah.
because you know they can absolutely, you know, as you just spotted, massive sales for this game, which will
End
have
of
people,
console life, effectively.
yeah, which means it probably will launch with, you know, as a pack with PS5s.
Yeah.
There'll be a Christmas edition with The Last
Like
of Us 2.
an
Yeah,
upgraded version of
yeah,
PS5.
which they own. They own the IP, so they can do that. They
Yeah.
will have got. You know, they've already smashed sales, so there's a ton of people that have bought it ahead of time. So they will be bringing this out as a, you know, packed game with
Yeah.
the PS5, which will make it very,
Graphically, it looked amazing in that
yeah, the
cutscene
trailer.
thing. I was.
The cutscenes are amazing. I mean, Naughty Dog, you know, they are the closest thing, or one of the closest things, as I say, Guerrilla Studios with Horizon Dawn are another one, where they approach each game like an interactive movie. And I
Yeah.
think I've said in the past, those are my personal, that's me, that's my
Yeah.
genre.
Like a Tomb Raider type thing. I
Yeah.
like those.
Yeah. It's got a proper story. It's a properly crafted story with great acting, you know, and they've had great direction. And it really does then lend itself to moving across to the cinema, which I think I'm right in saying The Last of Us is doing that, or at least Uncharted is, isn't it? That's maybe what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I think
So,
there's
yeah.
never a good. It's never been a real good sort of swap between games.
Never has. It's never worked, has it?
No.
Never
Because
worked.
there's different
Assassin's Creed,
motivations that
Tomb Raider.
drive them, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. They're the big news and stuff. Let us know what you think of any of that. Got any questions on any of that or anything interesting you want to talk about that as we move smoothly from the present, as we jump into our time machines and we go to do 64K of memories, or of course, as we like to say, the Generation X game. Didn't we do well? Hi, lower. Yes, it's that time of the evening where we pull out from our Back to the Future trousers a game each. And
Pockets, of course.
I beat Clyde last week, so I get to go again. And the game I'm choosing this week was on the GameCube, and it was by Shigeru Miyamoto, perhaps one of the most famous computer game designers in the world. And I will show you. Oh no, that's not it. This is not it. This is an advert. Where's my mouse? Excuse me. Right, let's try that again. Anyway, so let me just get further because you won't. Well, see if people recognise. If there's a prize to anybody who recognise what this is.
Star Trek.
Up.
Huh.
I'll move it forward. Anybody recognise that spaceship? Oh no, the spaceship's been hit. It's lost some its parts. It's going to crash. Anybody can tell what this game is. This was a much anticipated game, partly because it was Shigeru Miyamoto who designed it. And he's done very many games.
Lee's in.
Hello. Yes. Boom.
Well done, those gentlemen.
Zero Games.
Yes.
Well done, Lively. Pikmin.
Lively.
Absolutely love this game. A really sweet, wonderful game with a really clever device. So the principle is, here's Captain Olimar. He's crash landed on this planet, and on this planet are these tiny little aliens, and they follow him around basically. But they're different types of aliens. They're basically different colors, the aliens, and the different colors have different powers. And he's got to find the parts of his broken spaceship. And with the help of the different little aliens that each have different powers that follow him around. So some have like fire. So if he's got to get through something and burn it down, he's got to get the crowd of little aliens that follow him around, the fire ones, to follow him to burn the thing up so he can walk through the gap, or there's the water ones he needs. So he basically collects these aliens that just follow him around. Let's see if we get a little where you've got a whole group of them following him around. There we are. Here's a group. They found an engine part for him.
When did this come out then, Clive?
This really came about. Well, so let's see these little aliens. They're following him around. See the little group of aliens here, little red ones.
Wow. The
little Pikmin seed sprouts. They just follow him around. But each so red ones have a certain power. Look, see wherever he goes, they just follow him. So he pulls them out of the ground, and then sometimes you need a lot of them. Sometimes you don't. It's just really, really cool. I'll tell you the history of it.
This looks great. I've never heard of this game.
Yeah. It was exclusive on the GameCube. Pikmin is a real-time strategy puzzle video game series created by Shigeru Miyamoto, of course, creator of Mario and The Legend of Zelda. You have that on your CV.
Yes.
When you bring out a new game, it is highly, highly anticipated. So this came out in 2001 on the GameCube, and there was a Pikmin 2, which I never did play. But it was just a real different, it's a platform strategy game, but just that mechanism of getting the aliens, the little seedling things, to follow you around and then make sure the right ones are following you to achieve what you need to do to sort of solve the puzzle, or, the water ones or the fire ones or whatever it was. And then exploring the planet. Just basically, the player must direct the Pikmin, which are the little characters, to overcome obstacles. And they're small and weak. So there's predators around which attack the little Pikmin. You've got to protect them as well. But just like a really cool, wonderful game, sort of strategy, puzzling, cute. Yeah, the works. So that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is my game from the past. Came out in 2000, October 2000. And 2001 in October.
Wow.
Around about my birthday. And I just absolutely, I loved it when it out, and I spent ages playing it.
I genuinely never heard of that game.
Ladies and gentlemen. That's the one that you need to digest and think about.
Damned good. I was very impressed with that. I wouldn't mind playing that now, let alone 19 years ago.
I was going to show you just because obviously quality of the graphics weren't very good, but just to give you a better idea,
the
sort of, there was a little short movies that they made based on the Pikmin. I'll show you to give you an idea of what the characters look like and a clearer view, as it were. Come on, catch up.
But you know, that's one of those games they could quite easily remake today, and it would be very successful. Oh, look at him, look.
Little flower, Pikmin.
Oh. He's like a little mini Teletubby.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they're like. But there you go, Pikmin. That was my choice.
It says Pikmin there. Oh, he got it wrong. There he goes.
Yeah, they changed the
clever
it all around.
Very impressed with that, Clive. Good choice.
Very good.
Choice.
Okay. Very good. Let me just call up your one, and I'll tell you when I've got it on the screen here. Okay, so this is Rokk's Explained.
Yes. So you'll notice, if you go back and watch any of the previous episodes, that a lot of the games that I played early in my gaming career were probably Mac based, and that's just simply because not that I personally had a Mac, but I had a little design company and we had Macs, so I would often play them on there. Now Myst, which is my choice for today, by a company called Cyan, who were a very small, almost boutique developer, but Myst really did break new ground. It was a very intelligent and beautiful piece of work. And again, you know, I think maybe that's one of the things that you'll get from my choices, that I do like games where developers kind of push the boundaries and try new stuff. And this was, I mean, it was an enigma in many ways, and there were genuinely kind of cults and communities around Myst and its subsequent games. Because there's so much in the lore and in the story, as you'll see here as you're watching this. So it all kind of Myst, particularly. It was 1993, so it was a few years back now. The whole thing, very early days of 3D tech. But what they did, because processors weren't good enough in those days to allow you to do what you'd love to be able to move around and explore a lot of these 3D worlds. So you'd have lots of 3D cutscenes, and to move around on the island, you would sort of move forward, and it would fade you forward into another, essentially a pre-rendered screen. But it was done really well. So they would have little animated flowers or sounds and bees and things, so you still felt like you were immersed in the world. Yeah, and then occasionally there would be a character who would look through a window, for example, and actually, well, like you've just seen there with a guy within the video of the book. So you'd have these real actors, but they would be embedded in either they'd be looking through a window or they'd be on a page of a book or something. So they would be very flat and two-dimensional, but it just added to the whole thing. And, you know, it was just very beautifully done and very beautifully animated. Very sort of. Now, the reason this video that you pulled up here is, interestingly enough, a few years ago, well, in fact, last year, Cyan decided that they would try and bring these back in a remastered form. And they went to Kickstarter to raise $250,000. Ended up raising just shy of $3 million. Wow. So, you know, sort of significantly higher than they'd hoped for. And they've done very well. In the 25th anniversary collection, I think there's 7 titles. I may be wrong. But Riven was the next one in the sequence, which took it to a whole other level. So in Riven, you could explore the environments more. But the beauty of these games was in the environments. That was the key thing. So it was that sort of very early feel to kind of move around and check stuff out and, you know, wonder what goes on around this and so on. And just beautiful, really well done, hugely high selling. Myst was actually the biggest selling game on PC up to the point where it was released.
On Mac or PC?
No, actually on PC. So
wow.
it was originally released on Mac, but then subsequently ported and became, off the back of its reputation, to be fair, because people, it had always got 10 out of 10 as far as
Yeah,
reviews are
I
concerned.
remember it having a lot of like a high reputation for its sort of graphical look and cutting
Yeah.
edge kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and you know how Kate Bush is the kind of musician's musician,
Yeah,
and Myst and Riven and the whole series were kind of game developer and game designer's game of
yeah,
choice,
okay,
because they just broke ground with it. So
yeah,
so it did really well. It at that point, when it did get ported across, it became the biggest selling game up to that point, which was astronomical given the size of Cyan. And yeah, so really, because I just remember being absolutely lost in the beauty of this game, and so many great puzzles. They put huge thought into the puzzles as well, that didn't really exist up until the point that Mist and Riven and so on. But most people will probably not remember it, because, as I say, one, it's quite some years ago. Two, it spent most of its time on Mac. Um, but it's definitely one up there that goes into the Hall of Fame.
I remember a lot of people talking about it when it on the Mac, as a sort of an example of how powerful the Mac was, and graphics and all that kind of stuff. It was a much quoted game.
Yeah, and a lot of it, to be fair, you look back now, we're all very sort of hugely more advanced and experienced and knowledgeable in game development, even as just gamers. And you'll look at it and go, well, yeah, well, that's just a static screen, and they just moved, But what they would obviously do is they created a 3D world using whatever software they used back then. I think it was the forerunner to Pixar, Pixar, whatever the software was called that Apple developed, that was
Yeah,
then sold. Literally, they made the Pixar movies, or Steve Jobs made the Pixar movies to sell the software to prove how good it was. And I think they used that software, so they would have rendered every aspect of that world, and then as you moved around, they would just shunt another one of those pre-rendered scenes in, and overlay some simple animations and stuff. But it was hugely effective. And even to this day, I may even try and get it back on. I might go and get the 25th anniversary.
25th anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah, because 26 now, of course. But that, my friend, is my entry into
Okay.
okay memories.
Very good. So there we are, chat. It's down to you. Do we go Pikmin or do we go Mist? Put P for Pikmin, M for Mist. Put it in chat. Let us know. Are you going to go for the cutesy but brilliantly designed Shigeru Miyamoto Pikmin, or are you going to go for the Aunt Apple uses really cool? Look at our Mist. Beautiful.
Don't lead the jury. Don't lead the jury, my lord.
P for Pikmin, and M for Mist.
David's just pointed out this is actually available on GOG.
Ah,
£8.19.
Wow. Renderman, Dave Handley says he thinks that.
Renderman, yeah, that rings a big bell.
Okay, we're going to wait for chat to catch up with us. P for Pikmin, M for Mist. Come on, make your votes, make your choices, your chooses. Make your chooses, make your choices. Choose your choices. Let us know. P, but close. Never played either game. Oh, are you qualified? M. Nerds.
Got two M's.
Two M's in the house. Come on.
Yeah.
Lee, what are you doing?
Well, Lee's fence sitting.
Oh, don't sit on the fence.
Oh, go on, Lee. Go for P, mate. Let's do a draw this week.
Oh, shocking behaviour.
You know you want to. It didn't bother David anyway. He went straight in. He hadn't played either.
Nope. Yeah.
Well, if we've got no more,
Okay,
advances,
I'll call it. I thought Pikmin would win then.
Oh, look, hang on. We've got a last minute P. That makes it a draw.
Have we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Lee, come in with a P. Can I have a P, please, Bob?
We got a P.
Can I have a P, please? Yeah.
We have I think that's a well-deserved draw,
A
because I
draw.
have to
That's
say
good.
I was
Well done,
impressed with
Lee.
it.
Yeah, we're going to call that one a draw, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And as they say, on that cliffhanger, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you had a good time, everybody. Rokk, did you have a good time coming back?
I had a cracking time. Yes, it's good to be back.
Good to be back. He's back, yeah. Back in black. Here he is. He's back. Well, back in t-shirts.
Back in very dark blue.
Generation
Yes,
X
look at
retro
us.
gaming
Look
t-shirts,
at
everybody, of
us.
course.
Hey, look at this.
Thank you,
Exclusive.
chat. I just want to say again, thank you for popping along to our little show that we do every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. The Generation X Retro Gaming Club. Would be the same if you weren't there. Who's going to vote for the winners of the retro game of the week? I hope you feel entertained and educated and had fun, and a bit of a little hint of nostalgia has been sprinkled into your life this evening.
Yeah.
Big thank you from me.
Huge thank you from him.
And it's goodbye from the Generation X Retro
Yes.
Goodbye.
Excellent stuff.